All right. I feel like both the acolyte and the boys are finally wrapped up, and we talked about them a decent amount. So I figured, that now that they're finished, we can really have a sit down and figure out, how's everybody feeling about it. We'll start off. Ooh. We'll start off with the acolyte. I think this show, bro. This show was like the number one. Like they were just Euro stepping left and right. So I dropped a video after the first two episodes, and I still stand by the fact that those first two episodes, bro, were gas. I swear to God, like it was really dope. They were just like, let's embark on this mysterious journey and find out what the hell is going on here. You know what I'm saying? And I was on board. And then, as we know, this was the first, Euro. The next episodes to follow, like. It really had me like you ever just like look around and you're just like, bro, like how do we get here? Like how did we get here? I don't know if it was episode 3 or episode 4 where I was like, my good. It was the first flashback episode. That's what it was. None of this shit made any sense to me. All right, like we were supposed to unravel some mystery about like, oh, first of all, who are Osha and May? 2, why is May trying to kill, all these Jedi so many years later? And 3, why do these Jedi low-key feel guilty? Because that's one thing that, like, people online I didn't feel like we're addressing for real. Is like, as much as like, ooh, somebody's out there trying to kill the Jedi, like, why is it that some of these motherfuckers are willing to throw their lives away? Think about that for a second. First flashback episode, bro, like, I could not care less. Like, it was just like, they were just like teasing me too much. I'm like, okay, the witches are supposed to gather Osha and May for this convergence, but y'all don't want to tell me what the convergence is. You know what I mean? May gets a marking on her forehead, but that's just kind of it, and like none of the questions get answered. See the thing with cliffhangers, bro, it's a delicate balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, give me some questions that I'm dying to get answered, but the show's gotta be fire enough for me to care for you to answer these questions. You know what I'm saying? Like the episode 4 was so bad that I was like, shit. There's stuff that I'd want to know the answer to, but I honestly don't think I give a fuck. Like, quite frankly, that's a dangerous place to be with a show because motherfuckers just turn it off. Unless you're like me, who, decided to stick through it. Was it worth it? Was it not? You know what I'm saying? I'll plead the fifth on that one. But yeah, nah, like, I don't know. Episode 3 and 4 or whatever, like, those were ass. I will say, though, respect, credit where credit is due. The show didn't quite hit the peaks of episode 1 and 2, in my opinion, but it definitely was a significant step up from the bullshit we got in the middle. Basically, the way I got duped, the way, like, they were Euro stepping. Because if you remember, I was saying, like, how is May, saying that the Jedi killed everybody when she started the fire? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't pop people and then, start asking questions about, like, who shot my mans. The second flashback was the added context, and I take accountability for that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be those people when it's time to get the jokes out. Boom, everybody's got Twitter thumbs. But then when it's time to face with the reality that, like, what you said did not pan out. Listen, I was wrong on 2 occasions. I was wrong about the show twice. One, about how well they were going to execute the Star Wars mystery after episode 2, and 2, May's logic and motivations making no fucking sense. All right. So the second flashback episode happens, and it starts to explain a little bit more as to what happens. Don't get it twisted. May most definitely started that goddamn fire, but 1, it was one of the witches that told her to do it, and 2, that's not exactly what killed everybody. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the stinking Jedi, started to get their hands a little bloody. That, I think, was was significant, a significant piece to the puzzle. I feel like I'm a broken record right now, but listen, the show is essentially too bad for the pace to be this slow. Like I was so fed up with the show by the end of episode 4 that I didn't want to wait for the second flashback episode to understand what's going on for real. I can't really ding it for that. Like, that's more so like, hey, maybe my attention span is just not as good as I think it is, and I just got to give the show, like, you know, a little bit more time. But I just felt it was so uninteresting up to that point. I don't blame anybody else for hopping off, you know, the ship if they did at that point. But, you know, it did give some added context that kind of delivers to what I was talking about, where it's just like the first flashback, I'm like, what the fuck? Why are the Jedi, you know, guilty at all? Or why do they feel so guilty? The second episode, I was like, all right, we're starting to double dabble in the, you know, morally gray area. And I guess that made a little bit more sense. Just because why are the Jedi in everybody's business? You know what I'm saying? Like, why was Sol so sure that, you know, whatever the convergence was gonna, like, somehow harm these kids? Fam, you don't know what the convergence is. You don't know what the witches did to conceive, you know, man Osha. So off of what basis? Like, where the hell do you get off? You know, coming down to this planet talking about, like, oh, these kids are not safe, I'm taking them with me. What? Yeah, does that shit even sound like it makes sense? And then he murked my man's mom, man Osha, in self-defense. And it starts to, I mean, I don't know, the allegory for police brutality in that episode, it was a little too, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think as much as I think the execution for one, a Scooby-Doo Star Wars adventure, but two, painting the Jedi as, you know, not as, you know, squeaky clean as we typically make them. You didn't fail, but my God, did you get close? Like, I think the concept of the acolyte is so good. Now the execution, whoa, you know what I'm saying? For a show that's has like the Sith playing such a big role, I feel like narratively speaking, we should have also gotten more answers for that. We saw, I don't know, bootleg Kylo Ren. He actually answers to this weird creature-looking thing. Look, kind of looks like Ebony Maw from Infinity War. So I'm assuming like they fulfilled that little Sith ruler too, or whatever. So you got Ebony Maw and Kylo Ren Light. And I'm assuming he's trying to train Osha by the end of it. Spoilers, by the way. If you haven't watched it and you're looking to watch it and you care about spoilers, you need to leave. But yeah, so Ebony, I think Kylo Ren Light is going to train Osha to be his new apprentice, and then hopefully, you know, overthrow Ebony Maw. I feel as though Darth Plagueis should be somewhere in this era. I've seen some people say that Ebony Maw is Darth Plagueis. No, in 100 years, you could have the iteration where there's Darth Plagueis somewhere in there. It doesn't matter. I wish we would have known that Gamora and Kylo Ren Light clearly have some kind of relationship. I don't know what it was. They never told us. Will we find out in season 2? Who really gives a fuck, if I'm being honest with you? But yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, this is a bunch of questions, like a bunch of, like, you know, lingering question marks. But who cares, man? That's what, like, who cares for real? But yeah, I'd give this like a C+. If we're really glazing it, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe a B-. You bake me some cookies, I could give it a B, but at this point, what are we really doing? Yeah. Ooh, before I let y'all go, do you guys see why don't fuck with this motherfucker Yoda, bro? Like, they tease it at the very end. Like, my issue, and I've said this a million times, and this is not gonna be the last time you hear it, my issue with this boy Yoda, bro, how are you so old and supposedly so wise, but at every single turn, bro, shit just goes left under your watch. The same shit we just seen happen to Osha is about to happen in 100 years with Anakin Skywalker. Who would have thunk it? If only there was a dude that was there to witness the first instance to prevent us from, you know, falling into the trap the second time. If only that existed. That's it. But The Boys season 2, The Boys season 4 finale. That was heat. I still stand by season 4 was the weakest of the 4 seasons in my opinion. Yeah, it was the weakest, but there's something about season finales where it's just like these Hollywood writers, bro, they'll like give you some garbage, but then their pen just catches that flame for the last episode and you suddenly forgot all the bullshit they made you sit through for the past however many weeks. Season 4 was great. I guess second spoiler warning, if you're watching The Boys or you plan to watch The Boys and you don't want these spoilers, get the fuck out of here, Lone. Yeah, no, season 4 finished on, they finished swinging, you know what I'm saying? Ryan, he pushed Butcher to the edge. He done killed Grace, and that's all he needed. That's all he needed, and he just snapped. And the energy, like that's one thing they did really well, is like just showing how the energy shifts. I really like the Butcher going crazy and hearing voices like that I forget his name, but the dude that lives inside his head, that dynamic is such a cool element to the show, to like communicate to, you know, the other characters how Butcher's kind of losing it, and it's also a character from his past. I don't know, I just think that whole like that being his inner voice and his genocidal almost desire, you know, chef's kiss. They really got in their bag with that. Pour some out for Victoria Newman. That was really tough. I wouldn't say I was devastated, but I was, you know what I'm saying? I was Devastated's next door neighbor. I'm curious to know, cause Butcher and Marvin have always had this weird relationship where it's just like, will they, won't they? They're always beefing, but then they reconcile. I feel like at a certain point, especially if this is supposed to be the last season, like Marvin's got to put his foot down for real. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I don't know. It was a dope cliffhanger, having all, you know, the members of the team get caught to some extent. I know I was talking shit about season 5s, and I still stand by it. Like, again, like once you get to like the 5th season, we're dragging it a little bit, you know what I'm saying? They set it up all right. I'm excited to see, you know, what Homelander's, you know, authoritarian state looks like. It's gonna be dope with Soldier Boy to come back. Shout out Jensen Ackles. I'm like a weird, like slight tangent, I'm weirdly a big fan of Jensen Ackles from, I mean, one, my cousin put me on Supernatural way back in the day, but also he's the voice of Red Hood in Under the Red Hood, so shout out my mans. But yeah, he's clearly coming back in season 5, and I think it's gonna bang.